Shut up and sit down.
Welcome to the Health and Wealth Podcast with your hosts, Tim and Carter.
What's trending, Enrichers? Carter Wilcoxon, founder of CSI Financial Group here, with my co-host and former wealth advisor, Tim James, founder of
ChemicalFreeBody.com and your new health advisor. This is the show where we reveal the connection between physical and financial abundance.
Hey, welcome back, Enrichers. Carter Wilcoxon here, coming to you live and recorded for most of you here in Phoenix, Arizona, where it is a brisk mid-50s. But my co-host, Mr. Tim James, who's up in Idaho, I believe right now, just got through sharing with me the scenery outside. And Tim, it looks like you got quite a bit of snow on the ground out there.
Yeah, it's dumping right now, man. There was already about a foot or so here, and now it's just like coming down. I think there's like 4 inches on the hood of my truck already in my trailer. So it's like more shoveling to do.
Wow.
That's crazy.
This is the hangover episode, right? This is after New Year's. So If everybody out there, anybody who was doing a little drinking, we have the hangover cure. Stay tuned to the end and we'll share it with you.
Yeah. I love it. That's awesome. Well, hey, Tim, I'm super excited about being able to kick off 2022 here with you. We've reached now 40 episodes of the Health and Wealth Podcast. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, it is pretty crazy. I was flipping out too the other day because I was like, I just realized I'm 3 episodes away from. I just recorded 98 for my other podcast, the Health Hero Show, and I'm like, shit, I'm 2 away from 100. And then when one of our assistant producers sent over the episode for the Health and Wealth Podcast, it said 40 on it. I was like, holy shit. It's like 40 already?
I know.
Like, that's crazy.
Dude, it's absolutely flying by. And that's a great segue to go ahead and introduce our guest that we have today, Mr. Dionelle Rucker, financial consultant and advisor in San Antonio, Texas. Dionelle, how are you doing this hangover New Year's Eve, New Year's Day, day after holiday weekend?
Actually pretty good. I started off the new year winning my fantasy football league with my friends. So this is the last week. This is the championship week. There's a game tonight, but already I'm ahead enough. Like I won. So I'm really happy about that. I've been talking trash all season to my friends. Like, I'm so happy. This is my first championship. Yeah. So it's been a good start to the year for sure. Just off that alone. So.
Yeah. So, interesting, fantasy football is something that I've actually done pretty good. I've won the championship in fantasy football 3 different times in 10 years. But I did not play it all this year because of how busy we are between Epic Services and CSI Financial Group and the Health and Wealth Podcast. But congratulations, I guess, on the championship win.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
That's the way to kick off 2022 the right way as a winner, right?
Exactly.
That is awesome. Well, hey, Dionelle, we really appreciate you coming on the show today, and I know that you've got a lot to share in our next segment on what the future looks like for you and what you're doing, growing your practice there in San Antonio. But before we get started in that area, let's take a step back. The Enrichers want to hear more about your story and your journey, what brought you into the financial services industry, and of course, I'm a little selfishly, I can't wait to hear it as well. But let's go back to was there a mentor? Was there something that happened growing up as a kid? And is that also the other thing is where did you grow up and where what brought you into the financial services business in the long run?
Cool. Well, born and raised in San Antonio, Texas. It's my city. I love my city. My parents definitely major influences on my life, influencers on my life. My dad, he's a small business owner. He's been one my entire life. He owns an automotive repair shop here in town. And I think just being around him, growing up with him basically, and then seeing my dad just every day, just how he was, how he moved, and he would take me to the shop, and I would spend like tons of hours just up there hanging out. I think just, you know, being in business in general, that's where just the initial, you know, my initial interest came from my father. From there, as I just grew up, you know, I played sports. I played basketball in college. Out of high school, actually, I went to West Point for a couple of years. Love my country. That's a completely different type of love. I just wanted to go to school and play basketball, but, you know, there's just like military first and everything else that follows. So I ended up coming back home, finishing out at the University of the Incarnate Word here in town, where I also played basketball. Finished my bachelor's in accounting in 2012, and then my master's, my MBA in 2013. From there, I actually got an internship at USAA. I knew an AVP that worked there. At this point in time, I had no idea what I wanted to do. You know, prior to that, I just thought I was going to hoop or, you know, want to play basketball and just figure it out from there. But obviously, I definitely probably should have pursued the basketball thing a little bit, but ultimately I just decided I wanted to just, you know, get my career, whatever my life was going to be, kicked off. So at USAA, I worked with a bunch of wealth managers, kind of like as their admin, you know, printing different stuff for them, just really straight up admin role. I liked it. I liked what they did. And then from there, when it got licensed, and yeah, it's kind of how I got my start. So just in a nutshell. So
let's peel back the layers of the onion a little bit. Now, when you say you got your licensing, now most people actually, let's go back, because I'm curious. Every time I hear USAA, the first thing I think of is Rob Gronkowski. Was he on your championship football team?
No, he wasn't. No,
okay.
Not this time.
Well, because just the other day, me and my wife, you know, we're just, you know, whenever Rob Gronkowski, he does those USAA commercials. He's like,
right.
He's like USAA, like he has to, like, I don't know. It's just funny how he says AA, like he's trying to enunciate it really strongly or whatever. But anyway,
yeah, very entertaining.
I was just thinking about the USAA, you know, connection there with fantasy football. I thought maybe that might have been a possibility, but because I know he had a really good day yesterday with that.
Yeah, he killed yesterday. Yeah, he was killing
against the Jets. But so when you say licensing, was it more in the, because I know USAA is insurance and investment. So what happened first? Was it more the investment world because you're connected to the wealth managers, or was it the insurance world?
Okay. So at USAA, when I was working in that role, I was a contractor there. They did hire me on as an employee, but at the time, and then they ended up, you know, obviously, you know, getting rid of their investment company and selling it off. But at the time, I was kind of looking at the, you know, the salaries for, you know, just wealth managers in general, and USAA, they had the, you know, the lowest on the scale. So I ultimately didn't pursue that there. I ended up leaving there and starting at Merrill Lynch. So when I was at Merrill Lynch, I got my Series 7 and 66 on my financial advising licenses. Yeah.
Gotcha. I gotcha. And then did you go on and get other licenses as well? Like your 65, I think you're an RIA or IA.
Mm-hmm. The 66 is actually the 63 and the 65 combined. So yeah, I have that. I have that.
Gotcha. So that allows you to be able to manage money as well and everything. So
correct.
So you born and raised in San Antonio, played basketball your whole life, and it was interesting that you just got to talking about you went to Incarnate Word, right? Is that what?
Yeah, Incarnate Word, yes, sir.
Well, because I never knew where that was at, and
yeah,
I want to say that just recently, I'm born and raised in Little Rock, Arkansas, so I'm a Razorback, right? I think the Razorbacks played them, and I'm like, I don't even know where. Is that a real school?
Yeah. Didn't they? Did Incarnate Word win that game? Because they didn't, because I know they beat Nebraska one year, and I want to say UNLV as well. Yeah, no, UIW, they have a great program. They have a great program for sure. I go back every year and donate to the program. Those are my guys over there. I love that school. So, and they're getting bigger. We're getting bigger. So,
yeah. Well, I mean, is it D1?
Yeah, it's D1. My last year of playing basketball was D2, the last year that they were D2. So, yeah, then after that, they went D1.
Well, out here in Phoenix, Arizona, we have a school, Grand Canyon University.
Yeah, I've heard of them. Yeah, UIW, they played against them a couple of times.
Yeah, well, so Grand Canyon University used to be D2, and they just, I think it was 2 years ago, maybe 3. I've lost track of after the last 2 years. I don't even know what it is anymore, right? What's going on in the world, but I think it was a couple 2-3 years ago that Grand Canyon University ended up going into D1 as well, and they were just eligible, I believe, I think it was 5 years ago, but they were eligible to play in the NCAA tournament just as of 2 years ago is what it was. So anyway, so they were D2 and they just transferred or moved up to D1. Gotcha. So you mentioned something about, aspirations maybe to do something more with basketball. Was that like, I want to try to be drafted, I want to maybe go play in Europe, I want to go, where did you think you were thinking about, taking your basketball career?
Yeah, it definitely would have had to have been either like the G League or the Euro route. My senior year at Incarnate Word, I led the conference in scoring. Honestly, if we would have won a couple of more games, I think we ended up being like 15-15 or something like that, or like a couple games over 500. But I won every award except All-American. I was like all region, first team all conference. I did all that. And I had some agents call me right after the season ended. But I'd already started my master's because I was a senior on the court, but in the classroom I graduated. So I started my MBA at the time and kind of started working a little bit. And I just didn't really want to go the long route. I knew a lot of players that were older than me that I felt like they just chased the dream for entirely too long. And then, they ended up being like 28, 29, 30 with nothing to show for it. No, real work experience. And yeah, it was just something I wasn't trying to do that. So I just decided to be smart with it, in my opinion. A lot of people there were quite a few people that thought I was a little crazy. My parents, they were just like, we thought you were going to continue to try. And I had been telling them at the time, like, I wasn't going to pursue it. And they're like, no, we thought you were. We thought you were lying to us. And then even the agents on the phone that called me, like, some of their reactions, they're just like, wait, seriously? Like, you don't want to? And then, it was just like the responses. They were pretty funny. But I was like, nah, I'm okay. I'm okay. So.
So I'm assuming then you were like a 2-guard or point guard then?
Yeah, I was a guard / small forward. My senior year, our 7-footer got hurt, so we all got pretty much moved down a position. Okay. So we were basically playing small ball, and I was the biggest guard, and so yeah, it actually worked in my favor. So if it was somebody bigger than me, I would just take them out, go around them. Somebody smaller than me, I just go post them up, and just get buckets. So
nice, awesome. Now, you said you ended up going to West Point. That was straight out of high school, is that right? Okay.
Yes, sir.
So was there any basketball stuff that happened at West Point?
Yeah. No, I played there. That was one of those things that was like an eye opener because being from San Antonio, and I mean I've left the state and like did different things and traveled here and there. But just, living somewhere else, that was the first time in my life that I actually lived somewhere else. So, obviously this is in New York. And it was just, honestly, I was just like shocked. I had no prior military experience, no prior military knowledge. It was just one of the schools recruiting me for basketball. So, and I knew what West Point was. So I'm like, and I weighed my options. I'm like, okay, I guess this is probably the best route after, talking to my parents about it. Probably the best route. So I tried it out, and man, it was just like from the start, it was just like you just dive in. I remember they cut my hair off. They did. They cut my hair off. I was sitting in the chair like, are y'all gonna edge me up? Nothing. Like, nope. They just. So yeah, and it was just crazy. They took our phones and. They're just yelling at us and just chaos and running around. I remember that first night I laid there because, it's the basic training that when you first get there. Right. I laid there that first night and I cried. I was like, what am I doing here? I can't call my parents. Like, I can't. What am I doing here? This is just, I'm just coming from like, basically living a high of just life, when you're in high school senior, you're doing your thing, everything's good, kind of big man on campus type of deal. And then straight to that. Yeah. So, it was definitely a shock. And I learned a lot. I definitely learned a lot, met a lot of cool people. And yeah, we basketball was involved. I met Coach K, Bobby Knight. Coach K played there. Bobby Knight, he coached there.
Yep.
And I met some really cool people. I met some really, really cool people. And then the basketball side of things, like at the time, they weren't that good. So it was just kind of like, it was just kind of little differences in philosophies as far as that's concerned. But yeah, it was an experience. Like I'm happy I experienced it and tried it out. And I keep in touch with people that I knew from up there. So.
Gotcha. So then you were there for just a couple years, and then you came back to San Antonio, basically?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yes, sir.
Gotcha. So now, did you get the full ride scholarship to?
Yeah. Actually, I graduated school debt free with my master's degree. So how it kind of worked out, I would go to summer school every summer. I did dual credit in high school, so that's how I was able to kind of stay ahead there. And then Incarnate Word, they had a clause in your scholarship if you don't finish the degree that you're working on while you're still, after you're done playing, they'll pay for one more year after. So, just to pay for that final year. So I started my master's my senior year on the court, and they paid for my final year. So graduated school debt free with my MBA. So.
All right. That's awesome. Well, I know we're coming up on a break. I can see it in Tim's eyes right there. But so one last thing that I just want to kind of throw out there, and I try to give a plug to my wife every single chance that I get to anyway, but on the show for sure. But you're right there in San Antonio. She and I don't know if this was even a possibility at the time, however long ago it was, but she went to Baylor University, and Baylor obviously just got to win in the Sugar Bowl, and they won the NCAA championships, last year. I'm just curious, with you being in, San Antonio, Southern Texas area, was Baylor ever on the radar for a possibility of playing there?
No, not Baylor. Baylor didn't want me. Texas A&M was really interested in me for a period of time. Yeah, if anywhere in Texas, as far as the major universities, it would have been A&M. Back when it was Coach Billy Gillespie. I did kind of want to go there. Yeah, they were recruiting me pretty heavily my senior year. So, but not Baylor. And I have some friends that graduate from Baylor. I always tease them. I'm like, they hand degrees out at Baylor, because some of the people I know that graduate from there, they just hand degrees out there. So, but it would have been A&M for sure.
Funny.
All right, guys. Well, we'll take a quick break, and when we get back, I think I have a little Baylor story, if I can remember it, and it'll be very interesting for those financial advisors out there and those that are thinking about investing in real estate investment trusts. We'll be right back.
Estate planning. What does that even mean? When the inevitable happens for everyone on this planet, your estate plan kicks into action. But first, let's start with what an estate is. An estate is simply everything you own. Now, here's the issue and what needs to be understood when this event occurs. You only have two choices on this plan. Number one, either you plan how your estate gets handed out and distributed to those you leave behind. Or number two, your state decides who gets everything you own. For the first time ever, you can now take complete and total control of this plan that you've been deprived of for most of your life and generations before you. You can get personalized assistance along the way with a team of specialists whose job it is to make sure you have true peace of mind. It's important to understand that estate planning is a journey, and rest assured that our team will be available to you all along the way and at every step. Welcome to eState Plan, home of the last estate plan you'll ever need. To learn more, make sure to reach out to your local advisor licensed with us, or go to our website for more information.
What's up, Enrichers? Tim James here. I'm back with my co-host Carter Wilcoxon. Today in the house, we've got Dionelle Rucker out of San Antonio, Texas. Thanks for being here, brother. So right before we left on the other break, I was going to tell you guys a story. When I was a financial advisor, we had this lady come, and I remember on the first appointment, I went through all of her stuff, and she had one investment. Her husband had died and left her with about, if I remember right, about $600,000. That's what it was, $600,000. And this financial advisor that she went and saw took all of her money and put it into a real estate investment trust. Now, just like everything, there's good ones and bad ones. Unfortunately, this guy should have got his license taken away, taken all that lady's money, and put it. All she had was $800 a month Social Security and this $6,000 a month check. Now, he probably got a handsome commission or something from it. I don't know. But the problem is that it was the tenant was Baylor University. Okay. Now, maybe you guys know this. So what happening is that it was great. Put her in it. $6,000 a month was coming in for about a year and a half. And then guess what? Baylor University moved.
Huh.
You guys remember that?
Yeah.
That's what I was hoping you guys could refresh my memory, because I think it was, I'm pretty sure it was Baylor. They moved and opened up a new university somewhere else. It's not easy to re-rent out a university. Multiple buildings. It's kind of weird. You know what I mean? It's not like, so some of the real estate investment trusts that we did were like, big companies like, I'll give you an example, like Starbucks, right? So that was in the portfolio when we did a real estate investment trust. So because it was backed by the full faith of Starbucks Corporation. So even if they went out of business, whether there was actually some, I think in that REIT, there was about 4 or 5 Starbucks that actually shut down, but it didn't matter. They boarded them up. Nobody was using the building. Starbucks kept paying that dividend payment every month they had to, because they were backed by them. But with this one, there was one payer, and that was Baylor University, and they left. So, man, what an amazing, not amazing, but just I felt terrible for the lady, because she was basically, there was nothing that she could do.
Yeah.
And now that they're out of there. So have you guys heard any stories like that before?
I mean, I've definitely heard of just crazy, wild stories of just, advisors not diversifying their clients' portfolio, because that's honestly just insane. Especially, it seems like, she was an older lady, obviously. So yeah, that's just awful to do to anybody in general. But yeah, I mean, I hear all types of just crazy stories that I don't even understand. Even if it was just for the quick hit of the money, the quick lick. Why would you do that? Like they obviously wasn't thinking too far into the future. So
no, this poor lady
terrible.
she was in her 60s too, so she had a lot of life left, and I felt horrible about the whole thing. This is the perfect thing, guys. It's for the listeners out there, especially if you're sharing this episode with just people that are just regular folks that are investing with advisors, is that it's really important who you pick.
Right.
It's very important. It's just like anything. It's like going to a mechanic or somebody that's a construction worker, right? Or a contractor building your home. There's good ones and bad ones in every area and every profession. And you really want to work with the top 5%, that have a track record. If somebody tries to put all of your money into one investment, you might want to, get a second, a third, a fourth, and a fifth opinion before you do that. Because if that guy would have just taken the time to read the lease agreement, he would have saw that they were due up in a year and a half.
Right.
And that would have been, maybe he should have put that in 10% of her portfolio or something. Right. So anyway, that was my Baylor University story. You guys are throwing in all these college talks, and you brought up Baylor. So I hadn't thought about that for years, but I remember that little old lady sitting there and just destitute, literally. So unfortunately, so bad financial planning is also a problem. And so it's really important on who you pick. And, we try to pick good people to come in here on the show, like Donnell. So Donnell, with that said, what is it that you're doing that you specialize in? I know we talked a little bit before. You're not just a financial advisor. You're actually doing the accounting work too. You're kind of like quasi CPA. What are you doing down in San Antonio, Texas, to help your clients?
Yeah, this is a great question. Quite a few different things. So my background is accounting and finance as well. The pure just investments, financial advising aspect of my business, I've been doing that for about 10 years now. It's been about 10 years. So the accounting I learned really probably the last 5 or 6 years. It's a crazy story. It was actually a really sad story. My father, his old accountant had stage 4 colon cancer, and she needed a succession plan like ASAP. So initially she was going to hire me on and just teach me everything, and I was going to buy the book of business from her, but things just went too quickly. She ended up passing away, and I think in like 2017. And so, yeah, it was a really, really sad situation. But that's how I really got my start on the accounting side. So she essentially gave me her payroll and bookkeeping portion of her book. From there, I just kind of taught myself the training, because she was, really, really sick. So the training was very limited. So I had to be really, really resourceful, especially, when we're talking about like payroll, and not getting people paid is not a good thing. Like, people would be very upset, and I learned that very quickly. So, I managed that, we'll say, for probably like a year or so. I met a CPA, a local CPA. He taught me how to do taxes. He has $1 million firm here in town. So him and his employees, they helped me out a lot. They've taught me a lot. So basically, once I learned how to do taxes, I went back and told everybody, hey, I do taxes now, and things just really took off from there. So just services offered, taxes, consulting, payroll and bookkeeping at this point is a little bit of an ancillary services. Then, of course, like the investment management as well. Dealing with small businesses, individuals, not only here in San Antonio, Texas, the country, and really the globe. I have some clients overseas as well. So just doing a lot. So.
Well, that's really cool too, because you actually have a little bit of inside view. Sometimes financial advisors are so narrow-minded, narrow focused, right?
Exactly.
On what they do, at least, which is a good thing, because you want to get really good at what you do. But the taxes that, making money is one thing, but keeping it's another. And taxes definitely play a huge role in that. Being able to read tax returns and quickly identify, like, oh wait, you're not, your money's in the wrong spot over here for a tax reason, whatever it might be.
Exactly. And I will say, like, once I learned the taxes, that just really helped me out across the board, just even on the financial advising side, like we're speaking on. Because you see, like, all the different ways that you don't even think about. Normally, when people think tax returns, just the regular average or normal everyday individual, they think of like a W-2 or two. But after touching a bunch of tax returns, seeing a bunch of tax returns, you see the number of different ways people make money, the deductions, just everything that's involved in just like really just all types of income, really. So it really just kind of opened my eyes at that point and helped me be a better advisor. Then also too, even just with the, making investment choices, like, cause I do a lot of small business returns as well. So, getting more comfortable with profit and loss statements and balance sheets, that stuff goes a long way in the investment world, obviously. So yeah, it definitely, that the accounting stuff, when I really got a good grasp of that, it helped out everything across the board for me. So
awesome.
Yeah, well, I can tell you that in that same vein, that's actually what you have to do is you have to find something that differentiates you, right? Because and look, nothing against all of the advisors that come on the show before, nothing against you, Dionelle, right? But from the end user's perspective, they can get investment management anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So what is it that's going to separate you and differentiate you, right? So you found it with that niche, with the county and everything, and the whole CPA designation, you're going to get that, and that's going to be very beneficial. I know I've got advisors that a lot of them are very successful, and they've, they're EAs, right? Enrolled agents.
Right.
And that's another aspect, but they're bringing taxes into the fold, which is really what we specialize in a lot here at CSI Financial Group. But the reason why Epic Services was launched was so that we could become the estate and legacy planning solution for advisors and their clients without talk about being, narrow focused, right? You just got through talking about how you have clients that aren't right in your own backyard. They're not even in this own country. They're somewhere else, you said. So by tapping into and creating this foundational approach where we bring and become an extension of an advisor's practice for all things estate and legacy planning without them having to go out and establish some relationship, quasi, be it or not, with an estate planning attorney. We just have all the attorneys that are part of your team. And that additional niche has really helped to solidify a lot of relationships that does differentiate the advisor out there in that space. And when you can combine taxes, estate, and financial planning, forget it. You've got everything underneath one roof that a household is ever going to need.
The triangle of trust.
The triangle of trust. Exactly. There you go.
Mm-hmm. That holistic approach, it's hard to beat. When you like you said, when it's just not narrow-minded, not from just one angle, one perspective, you really you help a lot more people out, and you can reach a lot more people. And yeah, I agree. I completely agree.
Yeah. So speaking of that, I am curious, how are you with growing your practice? And I know that you've been doing this for quite some time, but you are growing things. How are you reaching your ideal targeted consumer right now?
Initially, really, I just I went and, like I said, when I learned the tax portion of the business, and I went back and just told my natural market. So I will say, going to different schools, being affiliated with just a lot of different people, basketball as well, introduce you to a lot of people. You have like a lot of network there. So yeah, really just my natural network. And then just really like nowadays, and this is one thing I just love about, doing what I do for a living. I really do feel like I can, get paid to just be myself and actually help people, so really just going out and just doing stuff, just doing random things, like even just going down, I live right next to a mall here. So I go to Yard House a lot. So just going down to Yard House and hanging out. I've met tons of people doing that. Going and just literally just, kind of like like your, my curious mind, just going out and just living your life, doing things. Obviously with COVID, you got to be a little bit more careful nowadays, but yeah, just kind of going out and just being myself, just try to be a cool person, be me. Eventually people ask, what do you do? And then just kind of go from there. So,
it's funny you say that, Dionelle, because one of my advisors that I've known for, almost a little over 15 years, I think now, he has told me the story about how his local watering hole in Maumelle, Arkansas, how he goes down there, he has all these guys are just, it's literally like, Cheers, right? You go to this like little, bar or whatever. He goes, man, Carter, I can't tell you how many times I've gotten business out of that. And I'm not going down there even hunting for business. I just having a drink and just hanging out. And someone goes, hey, aren't you a financial advisor? My buddy Art over here, he told me to talk to you about something.
Exactly. Yeah, that's exactly it. Pretty much. That's pretty much. And then now, it's a lot of referrals these days. I still do the organic thing, of course, like going out, being me, but you take care of your people and they'll send people your way. So that's pretty much it.
Yeah. Well, I say that introductions are the most optimal way to grow your practice. And again, a lot of the advisors we work with throughout the country, by having that differentiator, and you've got it there with, the taxing and everything. I think if you, and we'll talk a little bit more offline or whatever, but by adding some of that estate planning stuff too, what that really is about is not only the client acquisition piece, but it's also client retention and generational control, right? Because we help to establish leveraging the legal protocols that are the most beneficial for these grantors, households, right? And the beneficiaries, for sustainability and to be able to ultimately retain those assets, especially someone who's advising and has that assets under management bent that you have. I think it'll be very beneficial for you in your continued growth, because you're a young looking guy. I mean, what are you, 35?
32. I'm 32.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I knew it was pretty young. I didn't want to, I guess, make it too.
Yeah. No. Yeah, it's funny. Like, so I was out somewhere like a couple of days ago, and they asked, well, what college do you go to? I was just like, man, 32 years old, bro. So,
well, that's the thing today is if you're actually semi-healthy, which most people aren't, you look younger than the rest of the population because everybody's aging at an accelerated rate.
Right. Yeah,
that's just what's happening. So you're probably still staying in shape, and
of course.
Yeah, you got that background, the discipline.
Yeah, still playing the local men's league. Still putting people in the rim. I don't have a 40-inch vertical anymore. It's probably like 38-ish, but I can still get up. I still do my thing for sure. Yeah, I stay in shape.
I know you can dunk on that hoop right back there behind you.
Yeah, that's my little boys. Yeah. I'm passing it off. I have a little, he just turned 3. He turned 3 last Monday. So he loves basketball. So yeah, he's up next. We've been working on our windmills and our 180s and stuff. He loves it. And he does a little countdown, 5, 4, 3. Yeah. So he's up next. It's
awesome. Fellow Capricorn. I love it.
Yeah. He's silly baby.
Yeah, fantastic.
That's awesome, man. Well, hey guys, we'll take another quick break. And when we get back, Donnell will flip the script and then you can ask me anything you want on health. How does that sound?
Cool. Sounds good.
Sounds good. All right. We'll be right back.
You want the absolute best for yourself, and you want it to be easy. That's why we created Green 85. It helps with detoxifying the body gently. We're proud it's chemical-free, unlike almost all other supplements you'll find. Bottom line, Green 85 will get you healthier. We look forward to hearing what Green 85 did for you.
To get this product and our other amazing products, go to chemicalfreebody.com. That's chemicalfreebody.com.
What's up, Enrichers? Tim James here. I'm back with my co-host, Carter Wilcoxon. Again, today in the house, we've got Dionelle Rucker out of San Antonio, Texas. Financial advisor extraordinaire, doing great things. / CPA on the way, doing tax returns, really bringing a full spectrum of solutions to his clients down there. And, this is the section where we're going to pop into the health stuff, but I know we talked on break and you wanted to discuss a little bit about, just being a person of color in the financial advisor world and some of the struggles that you had went through. So I'll just open it up to you and you can just kind of share with us what that is. Because I know for me, I was like super young getting into it. And I remember this little old lady asking me, she's like, how old are you anyway? Right. So judging me because of my age. And it's like, look, lady, you have no idea how much time and effort I put into it. It's almost like it's not the size of the dog in the fight. It's the size of that fight in the dog. It's the person who's really interested and passionate about doing what they're doing has nothing to do with it. So I'll just give you the floor.
Cool. Thank you. I appreciate that. And just want to touch on it quite a bit because, being 10 years in the game now, I do still consider myself a rookie. I'm still learning something new every day. But at the same time, I have finally, started to gain traction. And, it's just wonderful when, your vision in your head starts to actually pan out and work out. So I have met just, other advisors along the way, Black advisors, young Black advisors. And a lot of the questions that I get from them, basically, how did you get to this point? And most of these guys are the guys that are just starting out. And they share some of the different challenges that they experience, which I also just kind of experienced just naturally. Because it's no secret, this industry, is definitely predominantly, white male dominated. And, just kind of being an outlier in the room, it can feel a bit uncomfortable, especially when you're in a job where you're trying to go find people's money and, convince them to give it to you. And then of course, just some of the challenges, day one, they always say, go your niche market should be some people that are, in your community. Go back to your community. Well, going back to the community, one, for, many different reasons, it'll be hard to get accounts, and going back to the Black community, whether that be like, just a lack of knowledge, lack of, financial literacy training, just lack of resources that they just, my people have all together. And it just can be hard. It can be hard. And then so it's a lot of times it's hard for, us to, go to that community. So we go to different communities, and then it's really hard to, try to convince somebody that's, most likely, 2 times your age, way older than you, has nothing in common with you. So you're sitting here trying to, find a conversation to where we can, you can kind of, that little icebreaker conversation. And it's hard if we, we have 2 completely different backgrounds. Like, what do we really have in common? So it's really a lot of obstacles. And even just, financial advising in general with your peers, like I mentioned earlier, the industry itself, like there's really not a lot of people that look like me. So with that being said, just some of the different solutions, some of the things that I just use, and it's mostly mental, like, because all of it's really mental at the end of the day. I tell myself, like, I have like about a good, like 10 quotes that my favorite quotes, and I just like repeat them in my head just at times that I feel like I need them. So, but one of the things that I'd say pretty much every day, if I don't believe it, no one else will. Like if I don't think I'm a good advisor, if I don't believe that I can go in and either close this deal or find this money or help this client or whatever, like if I don't believe it, how am I going to sit down with somebody and convince the person across the table to give me your account? So really just getting comfortable in your own skin, being confident, and really just going through the exercises. Because I mean, just this industry is hard in general. Like it's one of the hardest things to make it in. So 1%, you have 1% of people that make it in this industry. So, but yeah, that's just some advice I just wanted to share. Yeah, just, you gotta, it's a mental thing. It's really a mental thing. And I'm always willing to help different advisors that just, need some advice on that, and all colors. But yeah, I just felt the need that I had to share that with the platform.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for sharing, brother.
So, yeah.
So now we can flip the script and we can talk about anything you want to talk about health. So what questions do you have for me?
Okay, well, I have a good question. Since I do have a 3-year-old little boy, and I know giving him chicken nuggets and French fries from McDonald's is not good. It's really, really not good. And not that I do that, but every time we drive past McDonald's and, Daddy, can you please, I want some chicken nuggets. I want some chicken nuggets. Sometimes you do have to give in, but I guess the importance of a healthy diet, healthy balanced diet, and also too, even just with exercising in general as a kid, because you can't overwork a child here. Because me and my son, we're about to start doing cone drills, and I'm getting him ready for this draft coming up in 2035. So, but just at this age, at a young age, the importance of a balanced diet and also exercising for children.
Well, I think in nature, we don't have to think about any of that, do we? Like if kids are running around and playing 24/7, right. I know I was never in the house unless it was like 4 feet of snow outside. Then we're probably still outside. My mom had to drag me in no matter what. Me and my buddies were outside a lot. So, I think you're bringing up an important point, because it's like, I see this almost every freaking where I go. Okay. And I want to take a 30,000 foot view on this and use a little shock value, because I think it's important to wake people up. Number one, everywhere I go, I see parents with their kids, and they go to and you look at the freaking the children's menu. What's on the children's menu? Chicken nuggets, right? Or chicken strips, French fries, mac and cheese, hot dog, hamburger.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
And then Coke or whatever. Right. So if we just step back for a second, we have 34% childhood obesity in this country right now.
Wow. Okay.
34% of our children are obese. Over 80% of adults are overweight, obese, or morbidly obese. And now so what started with adults is now trickling down to the children. It started off, there used to be something called diabetes. And then they changed it to type 1 and type 2 diabetes. And then there was a type 3. And now there's childhood diabetes.
Wow.
I mean, children are actually being born. This is crazy. Children are being born overweight and being born with diabetes. Wow. So it's just we are declining as a species. We are not evolving anymore, right? We're regressing. And in many ways, like just certain things, like, with wisdom teeth, most people have to get their wisdom teeth now. It's because we're not out in nature and like chewing on hard stuff and cracking nuts and stuff like that and building that jaw strength to keep a wide jaw. There's a company out right now. They have these balls you can put in your mouth and you start chewing and it starts rebuilding your jawline. Over time, we're just de-evolving as a species. We're getting weaker and weaker. Human beings used to be freaking stronger than hell. Right. I mean, even go back a couple hundred years. I mean, people were coming across in wagons. Women were having babies in wagons, and there was no road. Right. Imagine pulling your ass across the plains and the crazy stuff that these people went through. People used to be pretty darn strong, but we're de-evolving. And I think if we look at our body, Dionelle, as a system, right? Just as a system, you have input and you have output, and that input is what you're exposed to. That's your environment. That's the air you're breathing, the water you're drinking, the food you're eating, the thinking, right? The clothing that you're wearing is also something, because coming into contact with your skin. Shampoos, soaps, deodorants, makeup, lotions, sunscreen, all these things. So what we try to teach people is that you have to get back to nature. Right. Those toxic chemicals and everything. Like, you have a freaking Glade air freshener. You're breathing in toxic chemicals, and so is your son. If your floor is made out of, I can't tell if it's hardwoods or if it's made out of laminate. But if it's laminate, we saw a study that came out of MIT that showed that it's off-gassing chemicals that are directly linked to autism in children, because babies are crawling around in that shit. So that laminate was made out of crude oil with over 3,000 chemicals. Right. But you can't see it. Right. You see, that's the problem. You can't see these microscopic toxins, these invaders coming in through the skin and coming into the respiratory tract and attaching to your mucous membrane every day, into the lungs and into the blood, into the fat and the muscle tissue, and getting stored. So after this podcast is over, I'll have you go check this out. And for the listeners that are new, you guys can check this out too. Just look up these 3 words in Google, and that's, or your browser, whatever you use, and that's umbilical cord and chemical. Those 3 words, umbilical cord and chemical. And Dionelle, you'll see studies going back to 2005 showing that every single child being born today, they test for 400 toxic chemicals in the bloodstream, and they're finding 250 of what they're looking for, and 180 cause cancer in children.
Wow. Yeah.
180.
That's insane. Yeah.
So, and 212 cause developmental and brain disorders. So the reality is our children are born today polluted. So the question is not just, what should I feed my child? But it's like, let's look at a bigger, like, what's my child's environment? Like, so if you have laminate floors, if you have a house that's been painted within the last 4.5 years, that paint is off-gassing in that home. Homes are over 100 times more toxic than downtown LA. Wow. They're made energy efficient. They seal them up tight. There's no airflow anymore. Cracking your window, even in a snowstorm, getting fresh air into that home is very important. 2 of the best things you can do for you and your child is to get your air purified. You take 20,000 breaths a day in that home, and get him outside as much as possible, and get him into nature as much as possible, and keep him off those electronics, and get your water cleaned up. Right. So are you drinking tap water, or what are you drinking?
No, I have it's actually right here. Little like water dispensary thing. Like I call and they deliver the waters and I hook it up. Yeah. I don't drink the water from the fridge or anything. Yeah.
Right. So you have some awareness there, which is good. But what a lot of people don't know is a lot of these water companies are taking the same tap water that you have, and they run it through a very crude filtration system. Right. Or maybe it's a little bit better. Maybe they do have a purification system. That's what we want. So again, where are these toxic chemicals coming from? Well, one of the biggest culprits is the water. There is some water today where the tap water in America will light on fire. There are some taps that have been tested. 1 gallon of tap water will have up to a half of a tablet of pharmaceutical drugs combined in it. And water today, like over 70% of water got acid rain in it. And over 74% has glyphosate, the main ingredient in Roundup. because it's been sprayed so much into our ecosystem. So the inputs of air and water are absolutely foundational and critical to your son, his development stuff. And if you take advantage of this, he will have have this awareness. He's going to have a much better chance of making that draft. When I went to the, I'm serious. But when I went to the Hippocrates Health Institute in Florida, we learned a lot of these things. And Dr. Clement said, once people start understanding these things and start applying them and start and eating more fresh foods and sprouts, things that are 30 times more nutritious than fresh picked vegetables, adding them to their diet, all Olympic records will be shattered. Because what we're trying to do is we're trying to get people to be healthy on a cellular level. We want your cells to be vibrating at a very high frequency. We want them to be very efficient. And right now they're not, because people are on a standard American diet, which is very acid-based. It's low oxygen, and your body is not metabolizing properly. You want your son and your body to be high oxygen, high alkaline, high metabolism, being able to get nutrients into the cell, get waste matter out, burn efficiently, and literally increase the electromagnetic frequency in and around that cell so he has more energy. This will help him in the fourth quarter. This is going to help him as he's growing up. And even if he doesn't do basketball, it doesn't matter. It'll help him follow his highest excitement in life, no matter what it is. And it'll also help him have healthy children and be able to pass that on down. This could be a turning point, because for me, I shifted because my parents didn't know any of this stuff. It was standard American diet, and I ended up overweight, health issues, bleeding rectally, organs removed, or had an organ removed, surgery, all these problems. And I was able to turn my health around. And now I'm 48 and I feel like I'm 19. I wake up and I feel pretty darn good every day. Like trail running, doing all this stuff, yoga. And everybody else can do this too. There's no difference. On a cellular level, we all have red blood cells. Okay. We all have a lymphatic system. We all have a cardiovascular system, our brain, our gut microbiome. We're very similar. The only thing I would say, because you brought up a people of color, that really pisses me off is that with these lockdowns with COVID and stuff like that, what is going on, it is a absolute death sentence for people that have dark skin. Because some guy like me that has lighter color skin, I only need about 15 to 18, maybe 20 minutes of sunshine a day to get my vitamin D levels. Somebody that has darker color skin could be 9 up to 15 times more vitamin D. To send you in your house and say, don't go outside, it's stupid. It is the dumbest thing. And you need to be supplementing with vitamin D3. That's very important. And going outside, even if there's a snowstorm, and getting those UV rays. But you have to wear natural fiber clothing. Otherwise, the polyesters and synthetics will not only off-gas into you, but they're going to block the sun's natural rays from actually getting through the natural fibers and getting to your skin. So that's really, really, really important. So supplementation today is not a luxury anymore. It's a necessity because of the over farming of our soils. 85% of the nutrients are gone. You have to supplement today, and you have to replace some of the things and take, especially in the wintertime, vitamin D, very, 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 very important.
Oh, I appreciate that. Yeah, that's crazy. That's a lot of information. That's very interesting.
Yeah, food for thought.
Well,
that's very interesting for real.
Well, it you know what's interesting is that I remember. So you were actually the third Black advisor we've had on the Health and Wealth podcast show. And I remember we did one with Odd One in Florida, and he brought up, and he was wondering about, as far as, sunlight and everything. That was the first time I'd ever heard Tim, only because of Tim, talk about people of color need a hell of a lot more sun than one, that's, white.
Right.
And I'm out in the sun pretty regularly because I play golf. Right. That helps. But anyway, I had no idea. But after you said it, Tim, the first time, I thought, oh, I guess that's kind of common sense.
Makes sense. Yeah, makes sense, right?
You need more.
Well, so let me explain something too, Carter, for the people listening and for Dionelle here too, because I just want to make it in simple terms. Why? Because people are like, well, why? Right? Well, number one, it's like if you have light colored skin, you were probably, your genetic heritage was in an area where there wasn't as much freaking sun. Right? That's why your skin's lighter. Okay. Right. You go down towards Africa and something like that, where the sun's beaten down 24/7. They were exposed to a lot more sun. So the body built up a natural resistance to the sun as a protective thing, because my skin, every year in the beginning of summer, I could get burned. So I slowly work my way into it. I get a nice tan going, and then I don't burn. Right. I got to build my way up. Right. So it's just and it's a whole nother thing too, because I can't remember the guy's name, but it was a really prominent African-American actor. And it was a while back, and he was talking about the whole racism thing. And he's like, why don't you stop calling me a black man, and I'll stop calling you a white man, and we just call each other men, basically. And for me, on a biological perspective, that's the only difference. Like, it's just exposure to sunlight.
It's a fact.
It's like, can we just move on? I mean, maybe there's a bunch of old ass people just need to die off, and they're going to go away soon enough. And that's fine.
Yeah.
But moving forward, like my kids were raised, I got 19-year-old, 21-year-old. They're all, it's like, I have friends. One of my friends in my baseball team, Eric, he was African-American. It's like, he's my brother. Like, I still hang out with him. There's no difference. I'm just, this whole media, turn off the goddamn news. Sorry for my French. It's like, they are just,
you're good.
destroying us and trying to divide us. There's less racism, I think. There is racism out there, but it's not as bad as everybody thinks. And we just need to raise our consciousness and get enlightened and move forward and be happy and just love. Like, literally, we need to love each other. I mean, it's what it really boils down to. You know what I'm saying?
Completely agree.
So, I mean, I just want to help people with their health, because that was the pathway that turned me around. And because when you don't have your health, what was it? Who was it? It was Confucius that said, a healthy man wants 1,000 things, but a sick man wants one thing. That could be a new quote for you to read every morning.
Yeah, that's a good one. That is a good one.
That's a good one. There's a couple other ones. Hippocrates said, what's that? Hippocrates said, let thy food be thy medicine be thy food. Right? Everybody's probably heard that one. But what they don't promote his other one of his other quotes that said, he who is not his own doctor is a fool. So what does that mean? That means take responsibility for your damn health.
Exactly.
Don't rely on somebody else to do it. Yes, go find other people to help you. Right. And guide you. But you have to have first-person experience. You have to try things out. How do you feel when you get your air purified? Well, I can tell you, I went through a whole bunch of air purification systems, had lots of people walking into my room. Half of the people walking in would be like, without me saying nothing, like, God dang it, man, this room smells great. I'm like, and it's like, and then this one unit stood out more than the other ones. And they're like, I don't know, I feel kind of energized in here. What's going on? Just from the air.
Just from the air.
Just from the freaking air. Think about when you go to the beach, when you go to the mountains, what do you feel? You're like, God damn, I feel good, right?
Yeah.
It's the same thing. The ones that didn't bring it up, I brought it up to them. I was like, well, do you notice anything about the air in here? And they're like, yeah, it smells really clean. It smells good. How do you feel? I feel good. I feel like I got I'm uplifted.
Right.
That's just from air. Okay. Yeah. Without air, you're dead in 4 to 7 minutes. It is our number one nutrient. And I always tell people, besides love, it is the number one nutrient that we need is our air. We take 20,000 breaths a day, and you're either going to be putting polluted air into that system, or you're going to put the most clean, efficient, energy-burning, oxygen-rich air possible into your body. That is going to change your metabolism. That's going to change your frequency, and you're going to feel better. And then you go to the next one, water. Water's the next one. Without that, you're dead in about 11 days. And then sleep's number 3 too. I think it's about 11 days for sleep. So air, water, sleep, and then food. So those are 4 things right there, Dionelle, that you could start focusing on. If you have questions, Carter can hook you up. You can go to my other website at chemicalfreebody.com. We help people bring awareness to this for themselves, their kids, grandkids, everybody.
Will do. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, man. Well, we appreciate having you on the show today. So Carter, why don't you wrap up, bro?
Yeah. And unless you have any other questions, Dionelle.
Yeah, unless you got any other questions about health.
Make sure.
No, I'm good. Thank you. I appreciate this, guys. This was good. This was fun. I like this. I appreciate it.
Hey, absolutely. Hey, and Richards, thank you so much for joining us. And Dionelle Rucker, thank you so much for being a spectacular guest. I know that it was sort of like last minute. We had to reschedule something, and I told you I was going to try to fit you in because
my
next opening is until August now. By the way,
so I appreciate you. Thank you. Good looking out.
I was praying that you were going to be able to make it on the show and everything. I really wanted to get your story out to our enrichers, because it's such a unique story. Obviously, you're dealing with your own business growth and everything. And I really do appreciate you coming on the show today. So, hey, Enrichers, to be able to listen to any of our previous podcasts that we've had, make sure to check out our website at www.thehealthandwealthpodcastshow.com, and make sure to like, share, and subscribe. You can get all of our podcasts on Google Podcasts, Spotify, or Apple Podcasts. For my spectacular, wonderful, chemical-free body co-host, Mr. Tim James, I'm Carter Wilcoxon, CEO and founder of CSI Financial Group, wishing you all a very happy new year, as this is our hangover special today. And,
hangover episode.
Hangover episode today. And we're going to get back and more into the groove of it. But Dionelle Rucker.
Oh, Carter, we forgot. The hangover cure.
The hangover. Oh, my goodness.
The hangover cure.
You said, hold
That's
on.
right. Yeah, the hangover cure.
I got the hangover cure. So Dionelle, my first product that we came out with is called Green 85 Juice Formula. It replaces like making a fresh pressed green juice because nobody wants to do it. And it's a pain in the ass to clean the juice and all that stuff, right? So you put this stuff in. So I had a gal that was a mortgage broker, and she drank a bottle of wine every night. And she wasn't happy with her relationships at the time and all this stuff. So she said, hey, Tim, she goes, I got to tell you about these greens. And I was like, what's that? She's like, it's the best hangover cure ever. She goes, if I drink one of these at 6 a.m. in the morning with a quart of water, a scoop of your greens, and shake it up and drink it, by 9 a.m., I have no headache, no hangover, and I can work all day long. But if I drink 2 bottles of wine, I've discovered that I have to do a green juice before I go to bed, and then another one when I wake up, and by 9 a.m., I have no hangover. And then this started happening. So in the beginning, all my buddies were making fun of me because I had this green stuff, but they were all saying it's like the hangover cure. Actually, one of them had a bar downtown, and I told him, I was like, why don't you just sell this stuff? And he did, because he had people coming in on Sunday after a Saturday, right? And it was like Sunday sports bar. It was a sports bar is what it was. And he had these people hang over, and this one dude, he goes, man, I got these greens. They really helped me out. He's like, dude, I'll try anything. So he made him up one, and about an hour later, his hangover was gone. He goes, what is that stuff? So he literally buys my stuff, puts it in a jar, shakes it, pours it into a glass, and sells it to people as a hangover cure in his bar for $14. It's like, and you can do it for like $1.50 or $1.70 a scoop or whatever, depending on the pack you buy. You can do it at home. So why does it work? Number one, you're hydrating with water, but number two, it's flooding the body with alkalinization, and it's replacing all the stuff that the nutrients and stuff you miss. So there you go, Enrichers. You have the hangover cure. If we couldn't get you into health by just being healthy and freaking you out with all the crap that's going on in our world today, maybe we can get you into health with the hangover cure. There you go.
There you go.
I love it. That's awesome. Well, hey, Enrichers, once again, thank you. And hopefully everybody stayed until the very, very end and got a chance to get that little hangover. Otherwise, maybe next time Tim James will have to fit that earlier in the episode. So once again, Dionelle Rucker, thank you so much for joining us from San Antonio, Texas. Happy New Year. And everybody, we look forward to having you on the next time on the Health and Wealth Podcast Show. Again, for Tim James, I'm Carter Wilcoxon. Everybody have an abundant day. Thank you, everybody. Hey, Enrichers. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of the Health and Wealth Podcast. I'm your host, Carter Wilcoxon.
And I'm your host, Tim James. And by God, we are committed to helping you guys have fat wallets, flat bellies. So tune in again for another episode, and make sure to like, share, and drink a lot of water.
Or beer.
You have just listened to the Health and Wealth Podcast with Carter and Tim.